Greetings and welcome to another edition of The Pedalshift Project. The Pedalshift Project is a series of conversations, thoughts, and experiments around the bike touring lifestyle. From tips and tricks to ideas on how to ride your ride, let's shrink the world by bike. Show notes and more are available at pedalshift.net/237 and email the show at pedalshift@pedalshift.net or text me at 202-930-1109 and check Pedalshift out on all the socials as well. Hello everybody and welcome to the 237th edition of the Pedalshift Project. My name's Tim Mooney. Thanks so much for joining. Welcome to another edition of Pedalshift Tour Journals. I used to number these. I decided to drop that, and I'm glad because I have no freaking idea what number this would have been. This is Pedalshift Tour Journals Paw Paw Tunnel Bypass, and I am so excited to bring this to you. This is it's going to be 3 parts on my 2-day trip from Hancock, Maryland to Paw Paw, West Virginia and back. And it's highlighting what is a really amazing feature of the C&O Trail, the Paw Paw Tunnel Bypass Trail. A little background. The Park Service is closing the Paw Paw Tunnel, for real this time. No, for real, to complete a massive descaling project on the downstream side of the Paw Paw Tunnel. That's basically stopping rocks from hitting people on the trail. Kind of a good thing, right? That means when the tunnel is closed, the only way to continue on the towpath going from the downstream side, DC, to the upstream side, Cumberland, is to go up and over the mountain that the tunnel goes through. I had never done it until this trip. So this part 1, focuses on my ride to the camp that I put up on the downstream side of the tunnel. But it's a little more interesting than just that. If you followed me on Instagram, you heard something happened, trademark, when I was doing the ride. Turns out I was recording, which, to be honest, this is the first time something sort of quasi-catastrophic has ever happened while I was recording on a bike tour, so I'm kind of excited about this. And it was fun and it was awesome. However, the sound quality, and this is the big bummer, the sound quality of that portion that I was recording leading up to it is miserable. It is unlistenable. There is wind coming in. It hits the microphone. You can't hear a damn thing. You can't hear what I'm saying. So you're going to have to bear with me a little bit here as we get started here and as we get rolling. From Hancock, Maryland, just outside of the C&O Bicycle Shop. It is, as I probably said in the pre-show here, the beginning of a little mini adventure. Okay, see what I mean? That is horrific audio. Normally, I would scrap this altogether, but let's check in. We're going to cut out the many minutes of me yakking. We're going to check right in right before, quote, something happens. Because we were so ignorant about what was going on at the time. You know, that was when we were like, oh, surfaces, and all of that. Well, that's interesting. I'm glad you got to experience that. That was a catastrophic failure of my front fenders. Somehow they bent up, caught the wheel, and the downside of it bent way up. Wow. Well, this is why I record things, huh? Yeah, this is pretty bad. The breakaways worked, but yeah, catastrophic failure. Okay. This has literally never happened. Yeah, well, hold on. I'm going to figure this out, take a picture of it, and we'll be back in a second. All right. So we are, am I less than a mile? I'm less than a mile into the start of my 2021 touring season. Catastrophic fail, but not tour ending by any stretch of the imagination. I'm going to set down the phone on the ground and hope that you can hear me as I do this. The last piece is I got to just get these stays in a little bit more. I was kind of hoping that I'd be able to do it without having to take them off, and I may have to. As I hope the picture demonstrates, the tail of the fender, essentially, and I've literally never had this happen to me, tucked under the wheel, damn near broke all the spokes. I should check the spokes. Yeah, they seem fine. Yeah, somehow, some way this ended up working. But I think, to be safer, I think the way these breakaways work is they are kind of snug until some massive pressure comes along, like say the wheel, or pardon me, the fender tucking underneath. So anyways, I need to get my Allen wrench out and just loosen, I think this will work, loosen there's a plastic part that's sort of the breakaway, and luckily it's not literally breakaway, but I think that once it gets loosened, it can be more firmly put in there, and then I can restart my adventure. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you really gotta pop it in there. So, boy, that's really, I'm about to say a couple of bad things about the RAI mechanic again. So he did what seemed like a good idea, or what you're supposed to do, and he trimmed the end of these fenders. The problem is that I like to keep a lot of length on them for purposes like this, because what ends up happening is you lose, you bend it, something bends, something happens, and you need a little more length on it in order for it to work. And here I am in the field, and had I had that, I would have been riding by now. But now I may have to take these things completely off in order for this to work, because I get that. Did you try again? Shut up, Siri. But unfortunately, because I don't have that extra length, it's tight against the tire right now, and I don't know if this is going to end up working. So, word to the wise regarding fenders is leave yourself some extra space at the end for stuff like this, because I don't think this is gonna work. I don't think this is gonna fly, and that's much more work for me because all of this is integrated into my front frame. More to come. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm taking off, as you can probably hear from all the clattering, the stays. And we're gonna see where that gets me. I've already taken off the one that I've unattached, but I wonder if I can maybe just attach them on one of the stays. I'm not sure if I was clear earlier. So with the fenders, you trim, if you're doing it in a clean way, you trim the tops of the stays because you don't need them, you think. I have found that in the field, I need the extra length sometimes because of life, things. And so as a result, these fenders no longer were going to fit unless I got it in a stand and really had some time. And so as a result, I'm decoupling parts of it, and I may end up having to take the whole thing off because it may just clank around too much. But I also had to throw my watch down the trail because my watch kept going, thinking I was talking to it, and it's only because I was bending my wrist to do things. Kind of annoying. Great start so far to 2021. All right, I think what I am experiencing here not sure if this is going to work, but I think I'm going to go with one of the stays attached only. I think that will have enough clearance. It's not even going to be raining, so it's sort of annoying that I have to even do this, but I think this might work. I was able to just push it right in. I'll hold on to all the parts, and this may wiggle in a not so fun way because it won't be stayed on both sides, but at least I can start riding with a minimal amount of time lost. I have plenty of time. I'm only going about 30 miles today. But I was kind of excited to start this tour, as evidenced by the fact that I started recording. I don't even remember what point I was in the discussion of like the day and my options and things like that. But you know, here we are. It looks like a TV antenna, these stays for the, and they're sharp on an end, so I want to keep them away from any of my bags. I've done that before. All right. All right. Maybe we should just start all over again. You know, we can start the, hi, it's 2021 and it's touring. All right, so I have everything reconfigured. I have my tools put away. I have the extra parts put away in a pouch that I rarely use, and it's actually perfect for small parts. Now, you know, I think this is gonna work, which is so weird. So I'll keep you along. Yeah? Son of a gun. Well, where were we? Episode 1. Day 1. From about, mile marker 135 or so. Maybe 133. There's this beautiful clearing here at the river. And during this time of year, you know, it's before the trees are even budding. Man, you get some really gorgeous looks at just a beautiful, beautiful Potomac River. It's got this kind of, I don't know how to, almost like a lime green kind of look to it, you know, sort of how they color the river going through Chicago on St. Patty's Day. Kind of reminiscent of that, maybe not quite as neon-y. But it's a beautiful, natural-looking color, and it's just so nice to have. I have had the trail to myself. I have not seen a single soul. The most wildlife I've seen has been ducks, and of course you've heard the frogs already. But just a stunningly gorgeous day, better than forecast. I think perhaps because the sun is out. I am I'm not tight on time. I'm not making super fast time here. I'm catching a touch of a headwind, and I think I'm just a little slow because I am pretty heavy. So I've got enough time. It might be that time ends up having me say, you know what, I don't feel like going up and over the trail today. And that ends up making my decision for me. But we'll see when we get closer to there. We're roughly 20 miles or so from when I have the option of a campsite plus the trailhead. So it's good that it's all sort of within a stone's throw of each other. All right, more to come. From the best way to put this, the rail trail split. I'm at the point where you are forced from the Western Maryland Rail Trail back onto the C&O going upstream. I will say that I have been on the C&O this whole time. I just preferred it today. Don't know if that was the right call. Headwinds have been substantial, measurable. I feel it. I definitely feel, what you're hearing is a couple guys on a fishing boat, it looks like. Motoring upstream, taking advantage of this glorious day, just like me. I'm feeling the time off. I'm feeling not having had a full season last year where I was doing big, long 60-mile plus day tours, multiple days over a week, or I think I'm feeling that right now, which is good. It's expected. And it makes me feel glad that I'm doing this, because if I'm looking at doing a spring tour where I'm looking at doing 60 miles on asphalt every day with some rolling hills, it's good that I get this training in, and I'm going to have to do some more potentially. So some more lengthier day trips or overnights, I think, are in my future between now and April. I don't know. Who knows? Beautiful. It's beautiful out. It's gorgeous. I have run into at least one set of cyclists, nobody who is out camping, because who would be dumb enough to do that when it's going to go down to 35 tonight? This guy. Just a really enjoyable soundscape here. Not too far from, let's see, Bill's Place. Where is that? That's not Old Town. It's some other town. I used to remember the names of all these towns. It's where Bill's... I'm near Bill's Place, which is kind of a famous bar that I recommend going to once and probably never again. So... All right, off we roll. From Little Orleans. Not a very far trip. It was like a half mile, but I sat down and I had second lunch, and it was quite good. This is the town where Bill's Place is, Little Orleans. We are about 13 miles from sort of the fork in the road decision-making time right now. It is 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I am going to make a decision there whether to pitch a tent and stay there, or maybe pitch a tent and bike on, or hike on, or I don't know yet. We're going to have to see. I have to say, I was feeling a little fatigued, but had that extra lunch. And what I also found in my bag was my electrolyte pills. Typically, I don't take those this time of year because I'm not sweating a lot, or at least it doesn't seem it. But I've been drinking a lot of water, and I'm just wondering if some of the fatigue might be just some electrolyte levels being low. So we're trying that. See what happens. Listen to your body, etc., etc. I'm not your dad nor your mom, but I sometimes offer unsolicited advice. That is what, 6, 7. How many years of this podcast have I done? You guys can tell me. A little bit further down the trail from Old Town, and I am cutting out the front fender. It's just becoming more trouble than it's worth at this point, and I do happen to, ironically, have a new set of fenders back at the house that I almost put on and didn't. And, well, if this was going to happen with a new set, I'm happy I didn't put them on. The trick is, the reason is that the front of it, because of the change in the dynamics, it's now getting a full-on rub on the top of the tire, and there's just I'm just constantly fidgeting with it, and at this point, since I don't need it, I think I'm just, as I said, I'm just cutting it out. I was able to just sort of tear at one point, but now I think I'm going to have to do some cutting. It's a tricky thing, of course, because with a pneumatic tire, you don't want to nick that. Let your air out. So little did I know that this tour journal was going to end up being essentially trail side fixes for a good chunk of it. How about that? Well, here's an interesting thing. Will that work? No. I was just able to wrestle. I suppose I should be videoing this, but I don't think I can be bothered to video this and do this at the same time. So what you're going to be hearing now is sawing. I think you can count on one hand how many times I've used the saw part of this multi-tool, but yet here we are. Thrilling audio content. It's what you come here for. I suppose if I had gotten the aluminum fenders, this wouldn't have happened, but if I'd gotten the aluminum fenders and this had happened, I don't think I would have been able to do this. These are the plastic jobbers. And it's a shame because I was going to hold on to these, but not meant to be. Playing it a little safe here.
This is probably one of those things where I should take the time, take the wheel off, do this in a little more smart way. But that would be too fun. I used to YOLO going over bridges. Now I'm YOLOing going, hey, I've got a sharp pointy knife near my tires. What do you think, y'all? Next stop, fender will be off. More sounds of spring with the frogs there. I do have the fender now completely off. There's lots of nice sharp corners on it, which is exciting. And I'm sure totally fine. I bent them up. They're not near the tire. We'll see if that works. You can feel the wind blowing, which had previously been the headwind. This is a part of the trail where you're just like winding and winding. This is the least straight shot. The sun is constantly moving in the sky relative to where you are because you're doing these big loops around the river as the trail follows the river. So the reason why I mention the wind is because you can tell it is starting to shift. It's still nice, it's warm, but you can tell something's coming. And I just went by a 15-mile creek campground, and there was a family, and a kid was setting up a hammock. And I'm like, kid, that is, if you don't have an underquilt for that, that's not going to be good. That's what I was thinking. I didn't tell him that. I'm sure he'll figure it out. All right, off I go. Another, what did I say, 13 miles to the campground. And we'll see where we're at and decide from there how we will approach the Paw Paw Tunnel Trail. From a noisy stick pile hill, hiker-biker campground, I am 4.7 miles from what would be effectively the campground that I'd like to be at, and I'm fatigued. I'm a little sore. I'm a little. This was more than I anticipated for reasons I'm unclear on. But that's fine. That it is what it is. We ride our rides, don't we? And so I'm sitting here at Stickpile Hill going, I could call it a night here and be super happy because I'm tired. Or if I go the 4.7 miles to Sorrel Ridge, I think that gets me to right at the spot that I need to be at for a quick up and down to discover that trail in the morning, which is kind of the whole point of this thing. It would be really weird if I just camped here and then turned around and went back and didn't do the thing that I had kind of set out to do. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break. I've got 2 hours until sunset. And, I'm not hungry because I've eaten. I'm not thirsty because I've been drinking. So, I think I just need a break from the monotonous kind of spin. And then I'm going to hop on the bike again, and then hopefully somewhere in the half-hour range, be at Sorrel Ridge. And then I will call it a night there. I think it feels like the right thing to do. It's pushing a little bit past my comfort point. My comfort point would say, pitch your tent here. So I think that's probably the right call to keep pushing on in a few minutes. So rest, relax, then push on, and then truly rest and relax for the rest of the evening and hunker down for a cold night. Well, poof, just like that. Sun is behind the ridge line here. No cell phone signal here. I'm now reminded that this is, while a beautiful spot and right on the river, a little challenging in terms of flat spots. Also, bathroom, porta potty, and the water, not that I'm using the water because there's no handle at any of them. They're spread way apart. The picnic bench is down way by the river, and there's very few really truly flat spots except way up here directly next to the towpath. Fine, no big deal. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit at the picnic bench for a little while, maybe throw on a jacket as it starts to cool down, maybe consider making my dinner. And, I have about an hour until sundown. So I'm low on time. So I will not, of course, be going to the trail. I suppose I could, but I'd have to, do some night hiking. And I certainly wouldn't do it with a bike. So I think we're calling it a day in terms of biking adventures. I felt better for the last 5 miles, but still, I'm kind of done. That was 30 miles of biking, which is really low for me. But got to remind yourself, this is the first time I've really been on a bike ride of note for months. And fully loaded, fully loaded, riding heavy too. So anyways, I'm going to throw on a jacket. I think I'm going to consider my options for things. I think actually the best thing would be to get camp set up, and I'm going to set up closer to the trail. There's a abandoned, I don't know how to describe it. It's a concrete abandoned structure, no ceiling, no roof, no nothing, but there are 4 walls, which would be excellent as a windbreak. So I'm thinking that might be helpful. Also, for the last week, in the last several days, that's been soaking up some good solar energy. So that might even have maybe a 1/4 degree of warmth to it. So I might take advantage of that tonight. So it's time to set up camp and then think about dinner. Got a new recipe to share with you. May do this on the live show at some point, because folks enjoyed remember the live shows? Yeah, me too. They're coming back. I think I'm mentally prepared to do them again. I did a cooking episode once, and I think it was for freezer bag cooking, but I think I may do this one. This is a powdered cheddar broccoli soup. So if you're not into cheddar broccoli soup, this clearly is not a recipe for you. I've been very much into it at home lately. It's a cup of water, and these come in packets, but you can buy them in larger quantity, and it's 1/3 of a cup. So what I've gotten into doing is adding fresh broccoli to it, and then I thought, that's not going to be enough after a day of bike touring. I need something a little more hearty. Kimberly had bought some those little red potatoes, and I brought 3 of those, and I just kind of sliced those all up and kind of rough chop them up and threw them in. I'm here to tell you, it's pretty good. It's good and hearty, and it's nice and warm as the temperature is coming down. It's kind of nice. So my setup here, pretty sweet. If you are going to be here at I've forgotten which campground this is. Whatever one I'm at, which I'm sure I mentioned already, and I'll mention again. Setting up inside this little concrete bunker is not a bad idea. There is a flat spot in the corner. This is especially good on a windy night, maybe. I'm not sure if it's going to be windy tonight. In fact, I don't think it will be. I think the fact that the temperature is going to drop so much, it's probably going to be pretty clear skies. But, I'm in that corner. There's windows that have no windows in them, but those are great for setting up your stove and whatnot, your water. You can lean your bike up. It's kind of cozy, man. There's no roof, but it's all right. So, feeling better. Feeling, just getting a little food in me is pretty good. And been listening to some rando podcasts and just sort of enjoying as dusk is falling here and the crickets are coming out. And, I guess they're the frogs. I think they're always the frogs. I think they're probably going to quiet down real quick as the temperatures drop, which will be nice for sleeping. Got my setup going. I have a new pad, and I brought my old pad, the old REI that's insulated. The new pad is not insulated. I realized I don't need insulated so much. So, except for tonight, of course. So I loosely inflated the REI pad, which has not been holding its inflation so well. But I figured that having that insulation underneath the new pad, it's got to do something. And I've got a fleece liner, and I've got my cold bag. And the cold bag is rated down to 32. It's probably not 32 for comfort, though, so I think the fleece liner is going to be good. And I've got a puffy, I've got a hat, I got all the good stuff. So yeah, I think it'll be comfortable tonight. And then tomorrow morning, when it's at its coldest, what I have come to do is I actually brought a little extra flat corkboard to make sure that the surface is extra flat. I'll boil water in the vestibule, and and I brought the Green Dragon, the very, very burly heating device, which is, as I've mentioned before, largely only good for boiling water because there is no low simmer mode on it. So in any event, I'll boil up some water. And is it the safest thing in the world? No. But I'll tell you what. If you're extraordinarily careful like I am, I'm an extraordinarily careful person. It will warm up that tent so nicely on a cold day. And of course, I'm doing that to make coffee, which is just, delightful. And it'll be a nice way to start off my morning. I've found that that's a good way to handle the cold nights in the shoulder seasons, at the beginning of touring season and at the end of touring season when you end up with a cold night. So, well, in any event, I'll probably do at least one more entry into the audio journal here before turning in for the night. But beautiful. It's funny when you're away from bike touring, you're away from camping for a while, and you come back to it. It can be a really energy, battery, spiritual, I don't know, whatever, recharge for yourself. And this is feeling really good. And I think that with all the other good news that seems to be on the way with COVID, allowing myself a little bit of chance to set aside my typical cynical ways and be a little bit more positive about what's in front of me. I think that sounds pretty good. And I'm really looking forward to dreaming up what is in front of me for the season. I will say, though, because 30 miles kicked my butt, I'm wondering if I need to, train some more? Or I don't know, man. Maybe I'm getting too old for these 60-mile days. Maybe I gotta back off the mileage or something. I don't know. Well, I'm going to enjoy some soup and ponder that. We'll check in one more time. A little walk in the dark here at Sorrel Ridge campsite. I'm standing in front of the sign, so I don't forget it this time. One of the joys of camping out here in the C&O, especially in these rural parts, is I get barely a bar. And so as a result, I'm largely cut off from everything. I tried sending off a text, but don't have enough of a signal to get a response. So, you have what you bring with you here. And, here in the dark, you have what you bring, and then you have what's around you as well. And on the other side of the river, I can see a couple of lights. So there's a couple of people who are spending their night here riverside, whether they're in homes or campsites, it's hard to tell. But, the big thing is that you can see enough of illumination in the sky that you can see the kind of the shadows of the trees. The silhouettes is probably a better way of putting it. These pines that are sticking up above the ridge line here. And this is a very mountainous part of the trail, and it's as evidenced by the fact that you have the Paw Paw Tunnel. This was a very difficult area to traverse for the folks with the trail, and when they created it took, I think, 14 years to dig that tunnel. It allowed them to bypass the river, which brought its fair share of issues when you were trying to float a boat down it, which was the whole point of having the canal. But here now, I've got the silhouettes of the trees. I've got still the frogs who are trying to hang on. They don't know what's coming tonight. It's going to get cold. They'll probably quiet down later tonight. But I've got the stars. That's the big thing right now. And, I when I was a kid, I learned a little bit about the constellations, and it served me well for times like this when I can look up and see familiar shapes and familiar stars even. When I can find Orion, the 3 stars in the belt, that's the one that if you almost nothing, you know that one. But one of my favorite, and of course, usually the brightest thing that looks like a star in the sky is almost always going to be Venus. And tonight, Venus is just a little bit to the left of Orion tonight. But as I arc my head over, I can never find Virgo on its own. It's not a shape that ever stands out to me. But the one that I can find is Scorpio. Scorpio's got a very distinctive shape. Scorpio's, of course, the scorpion, and it's got kind of this very distinctive T shape. So when I see October Scorpio, I know September is just over to the left of it, and then I find the brightest star in that, and that's always been my favorite. I think it's pronounced Spicia or Spicia or something like that, and it's one of the brighter stars. It's a blue star. Always my favorite to find. I have a particular affinity for that because I was born in September, so I'm a Virgo, la, 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 la. Anyways, so it's always nice to have that kind of oddball consistency throughout your life that, so many things can change in your life. But, when you go out camping and you look up in the sky, you're going to see some familiar things. And it's kind of a nice thing, that little bit of consistency that's always seeming to be there when you do this. So I've never had a problem walking about in the dark when I'm camping. Never had that fear or anything like that. And I think part of it is that I have comfort here on this trail. I've spent so many nights on it. One of these days I should probably figure out how many nights I've slept on this trail. But I also know I haven't seen a damn person for a long time today. And, where I'm at right now, if you wanted to get here, you are at least an hour to 2 hours of biking from the nearest town on the downstream side. And that town is basically a bar and nothing much else. And then if you wanted to come from Paw Paw, which is actually a little bit closer to here, well, you got to go up and over a pretty substantial trail. So I got this place to myself tonight, and that's kind of fun. Couple of airplanes flying in the sky that are a nice reminder of kind of what's to come. I haven't been on a plane in well over a year. The last time I was on a plane was for the Kessel Run tour, which is crazy to think about, but it's true. And that will be changing soon. I don't have any specific plans, but I do think that that's going to happen. I'll probably end up flying up to see my parents. I think that'll probably be my first trip. But I would be stunned if my second trip didn't have anything to do with flying out west, whether that was just for visits or if it also included a little bit of bicycle touring. That's to understate things quite a bit. That is certainly on my list of things to do coming up in the next few months, I think. So that's kind of exciting. Right now I am standing above. I wish I could properly describe this structure to you, but right now I'm leaning against it from the outside. On the downstream side of the wall, it's about at chest level, so I'm kind of leaning in and I can look in. I can see the outskirts of my tent and a few other things as well. So that's kind of exciting, I guess. And I don't know if you can catch it, but you can hear the frogs off in the distance. So, but it's still kind of nice out. I'm bundled up. I got my hat on. I got my puffy on. But it's still, gosh, I'm not even sure if we've dropped below 50 yet. So it's really nice right now. And I think it's just going to, the temperatures are just going to crater sometime in the middle of the night. So it'll be interesting. I'm sure it'll wake me up at some point because I'll probably go to bed going, it's in the 50s. It's cool. And then sometime around like 3 a.m, I'll probably wake up and it'll be like 38. And it'll be a thing. So, well, in any event, this was a strange day one, a very strange day one. Obviously, starting off with a bang with the sort of catastrophic weirdness of my long tail Fender catching the tire and pulling up and bending into itself. I never even remotely thought that could be possible, but yet it happened. You heard it. And, having to deal with that through the day and just kind of the struggle to get the 30 miles in today. That's something that I'll have to sit with a little bit. And, I'm sure it's just fitness and training and more of that to be sure. But, I'm not ready to rock a 50 or 60 mile day, it seems like. Or maybe it was just a bad day. Who knows? All right. Time to go to bed. See you next episode. I cannot tell you how amazing that night was
with the stars and the solitude and everything about that first night. It was really great. We're going to take a week off from here with a best of coming at you next week as I drop this episode. So check that out and then rejoin us again in a couple of weeks as we tackle the trail itself in part 2. Oh, by the way, if you maybe are hearing, the audio is a little bit weird, well, that is because I have something really awesome to share very soon. I don't want to tempt fate. Trust me, I do not want to tempt fate by saying anything before said awesome thing happens. But if it does happen, it's happening tomorrow as I record, sitting here, right here in an undisclosed location. More in a couple of weeks. And as always, we like to close out the show with a special shout out to the Pedalshift Society. Because of support from listeners like you, Pedalshift is a weekly bicycle touring podcast with a global community, expanding into live shows and covering new tours. If you like what you hear, you can support the show for $5, $2, or even $1 a month. And there's one-shot and annual options. If you're not into the small monthly thing, check it all out at pedalshift.net/society. On to the society. Kimberly Wilson, Caleb Jenkinson, Cameron Lean, Andrew McGregor, Michael Hart, Keith Nagel, Brock Dittus, Thomas Skadow, Marco Lowe, Terrence Manson, Harry Telgadis, Chris Barron, Mark Van Ram, Brad Hipwell, Mr. T, Nathan Poulton, Stephen Dickerson, Vince LaGreco, Cody Florchinger, Tom Beninati, Greg Braithwaite, Sandy Pizzio, Jeff Muster, Seth Pollock, Joseph Quinn, Byron Patterson, Joachim Robert, Ray Jackson, Jeff Fry, Kenny Mikey, Lisa Hart, John Denkler, Steve Henkel, Miguel Quinones, Alejandro Aviles Reyes, Keith Spangler, Greg Towner, Dan Gebhardt, Jody Zeranin, Lucas Barwick, Michael Baker, Brian Bechtal, Reinhard Bigel, Greg Middlemas, Connie Moore, William Gothman, Brian Benton, Joan Churchill, Mike Bender, Rick Weinberg, Billy Crafton, Gary Matushak, Greg Latois Lopez, James Sloan, Jonathan Dillard, John Funk, Tom Bilch, Ronald Piroli, Dave Roll, Brian Hafner, Misha LeBlanc, Ari Messinger, David Grutke, Wally Estrella, Sue Reinert, John Lecco, Stephen Granada, Philip Mueller, Robert Lackey, Dominic Carroll, Jackie McCulloch, John Hickman, Jack Smith, Carl Presso, David Neves, Patty Louise, Terry Fitzgerald, Peter Steinmetz, Timothy Fitzpatrick, Dave Fletcher, James Stratakis, David Neves, Mike Lazuski, Hank O'Donnell, David Zanoni, David Weil, Matthew Sponseller, Chad Reno, Daniel Greger, Spartan Dale, Carolyn Ferguson, and thanks also to all past and anonymous members for helping make this show happen. Thank you for joining. You can find Pedalshift at pedalshift.net for more great bicycle touring content. You can hear the Pedalshift project through Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. Opening music courtesy of Jason Kent off his self-titled album. The track is called America. Check out his band Sunfields' latest release, Mono Mono, wherever cool music is available.